Late Age Patala, Reign of the Nagas. In the dense forests of the Bandar realm, apes of uncanny brightness have emerged. Under the influence of semi-divine beings, the apes evolved intelligence and culture. When the former rulers of Bandar Log returned to their celestial realms, the apes were left without leadership, and innovation in the nation ground to a halt. A warlike hierarchical society was formed with the large Bandar apes at the top. Later, Nagas arrived from the nether realm of Patala, where all rivers spring. The Nagas are divine beings of the underworld and its rivers, and the Nagas are now to the apes what the Yakshas were in ages past. With mesmerizing stares and dancing serpentine bodies, they entranced the Bandar Log and claimed their empire as their own. Patala is a divided society. Small Markadas are at the bottom of society. Banara apes of human size are most common. Large Bandar apes rule most of society and form the military. Above all are the sacred Nagas and their kings. This is the end of the ape line, and an interesting end. Perhaps even maybe a little bit better than they were in Dom 5. We'll see. For national features, we are a race of Nagas and apes. We prefer a heat scale of +2. Military-wise, we have a multitude of missile weapons, light and medium infantry, sacred Naga warriors. Now, one thing I want to point out just right away, these are the same troops we've had since early age. That's a little bit of an ouch, but on the bright side, Bandar are just a really good chassis with a glaring weakness. So you can kind of sort of carry yourself at least through the early game just on the raw guerrilla strength of the Bandars. And the Naga do bring in something, and we will talk about that when we get there. For magic, we're good at water and earth, and we have a bit of nature, astral, and glamour. Not too bad here, ranging somewhere between 1 and 3 for the various different ones. Communions are one major option here. We also have a lot of the blood summons of ages past, but we don't get any native blood searchers. So if you did want to break into blood, I would strongly consider a pretender who could kind of get that ball rolling. We do have summons that have blood, but they're not cheap and they're not early. So that's kind of a long-term commitment if you wanted to go that route. Our priests are average, but I want to put an asterisk next to that. The affordable priests are just priest ones. The Nagas are cap only, cap only, cap only. So that's a little bit of an ouch. We do, however, have some holy 2s that we can summon. In fact, we even have holy 3s, but we're getting very pricey. And remember, we're talking late age where gems are going to be at a premium. For scales and blesses, we have order limit of +1 and a heat limit of +1. So you can go up to heat 3 if you so desire, and you can only go down to turmoil 1, or we could go up to order 3. I don't think we are really that interested in that high of order. I find it a little weird, actually, that we have order. To me, Nagas feel like turmoil units, but I guess in this case they are not. We do standard forts of the ears. That means we can go up to citadels. For sites, we have 2. We have Patala, which allows us to get some of our cap-only units. In addition, it allows us to get a Earth Gem and 2 waters. And we have the Jeweled City, which allows us to get our cap-only mages, in addition, 1 Astral Pearl. Units and Sacreds. As mentioned before, our units are basically the same units that we've had since early age. In fact, not even basically, they are the same units since we've had since early age. And our Sacreds here are the new additions of Nagas. I'm going to be a little quick on these first guys because I do not find them particularly great. We start with the Markata. These are the lowest ones. I will say, one interesting thing with the Markata, if you look here, these guys have 14 defense and the archers have 13. You could take a group of these. They are size 2, so you could point buff them pretty well. Throwing some luck, twist, fate, body ethereal on these would make them very annoying, but they have really low morale, so they're going to run away lickety split. They're also undisciplined, so they're not going to hang around. Horrible morale, horrible magic resistance. Sticks and stones on these guys is horrible because it bases on strength. The archers, same thing. They have a short bow, and they're not even good with it because they are so darn weak that they're basically not even worth mentioning. You do start with some of these. Unfortunately, they are undisciplined. Moving us up into the Atavi, these are the, I'm going to say medium guys, but they're not even that good. They're basically human stats, except for they have low morale and low magic resistance. Even the short bow here is only 11 piercing damage. That's not good enough for late age. Even against most crossbows, you're likely to not win that duel because 11 will probably not get through the somewhat armor that most crossbowmen wear. The dagger they're armed with is also not going to save you. They are stealthy. Maybe that could be something that could be useful. They have various different ones here. I'm going to, again, go pretty quick through these. The unarmored ones, basically not worth taking. Their sticks and stones are too weak. They have the armored ones. These are just a lot of resources for a bow that can't do anything. We have the Venaran infantry. These have a mace that does 16 blunt damage. That is at least decent enough that maybe you could consider putting these on the line. These would be crappy line troops. They don't have good magic resist. They don't have good morale. They're slow in combat. But these are at least vaguely human line troops. Not particularly good, though. Not particularly usable. We also have a sword variety. These are better because they have the falchion, which does 18 slashing damage, and they have a decent attack at 11. These could be used in a pinch, but they're not going to be particularly good. At least their morale is now up to 10, so we're up to base human-like troop ones. I will call out the Venaran Chakram Thrower. An interesting unit. One thing that's nice about these is you could use the Chakram throws to actually hold them in place for a second. It has 2 ammo, so hold and fire closest could be like 4 rounds where they kind of hold still if you wanted to get some point buffing on them before they run in with that mace. That's not particularly useful, but I figured I'd point it out. Again, bad morale here. Moving up into the Bandar troops, I believe these are your usable troops in late age. You have 2 variety of longbow troops. You have the unarmored ones and the armored ones. I think in general, the armored ones here have a protection of 18 on the head and 15 on the body. That is not good enough to save you from a crossbow bolt. The crossbow is going to have it, so now you're down to, let's say, 8, and then you're going to subtract 1 for the 15% of it being piercing damage. That's not going to save you. So if you're going to be dueling crossbows, I think you go with the light Bandar archer. You have the same bow. You only cost 16 gold, 6 resources, 8 recruitment points versus the same but 21 resources. I think you just go for the mass number of Bandar archers. A decent number of these, they are range 45, so essentially the same range as crossbows. They're going to fire faster than a crossbow will, and they hit hard enough, even though they're not particularly accurate. 16 damage is hard enough that you should be able to hurt most crossbows, except for the couple oddballs that are like really heavily armored, but most people don't mass those. So I do think these are all right. They have a place there. They have good morale, so they're going to take some pretty atrocious losses when they're getting countershot. If somebody's not using crossbows, you could definitely win any other archery duels with one or the other. I think in that case, you go with the armored ones if you can afford to, because these will win against other bowmen. It's just those crossbows and having the protection that kind of make these not particularly great. So I think both of those are usable. Unfortunately, we don't have native fire to be able to give them fire arrows. They do hit hard enough that maybe poison arrows could be a thing, maybe. I'm not in love with that. We also don't have easy native air to buff them, so they're just kind of off on their own. We do have some earth, so we can give them giant strength at least, so that's something. Next up, we got the Bandar Warrior ×2 and then a light Bandar Warrior. I'm going to start with the light one. The light one is interesting in that he's 16 gold, 11 resources, 8 recruitment points. He has a mace that he is pretty good with, 11 attack and 21 blunt damage, and he has sticks and stones that is garbage, and you wish you wouldn't actually use that in this case. That used to be better in ages past when people weren't so heavily armored, but in late age, I don't think it's particularly useful. These are, I need melee troops, and I'm very poor. I would get these guys because at least their weapon hits hard enough to do something. I think that's all right. Better than them, the Bandar Warrior here. This is the mace and buckler variety. Again, all of these only have 8 magic resistance. That's going to be horrible for us. And I should specifically call out, they're all animals and they all have forest survival. The animal in particular makes you weak to spells that target animals, and then combine that with low magic resistance. That's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. Mace here is the same mace as we were looking at, but now we're paying for a lot more armor. I think if you're going to get one of the two, I would actually get the cheaper guy. 18 resources versus 11. That's not quite double the amount, but a decent chunk more of just these lighter guys. What would I actually want to get is this Bandar Warrior, the guy wielding the 2-handed iron cudgel. These are as amazing as they always are. The Bandar Log mercenary group of these I quite like. They hit, it's a length 2 weapon, so they actually can get some repels against the common length 1 weapons of the age. They have 11 attack and 26 blunt damage. They are size 4, so you only get 2 of them per square, but at 26, that for the most part can hit heavy infantry just fine, heavy cav just fine. They do well in that role. They have 12 morale, so they'll generally stick around for the fight. And the scale mail halberd and iron cap isn't stellar, but it's also not miserable. You can see here he's got 15 on the body, so almost a line troop of the age. Weirdly enough, this is like probably the best troop that any of the ape lines actually have. It's just this guy, just every single age is just him. Now the downsides here, he has very bad defense, he has very bad combat speed, so the attrition is going to be relatively high. They do have 18 HP, so they generally can take a hit. They're not going to get like one shot. I'll also note all the Bandar have 2.3 siege strength, which is really nice. So your apes are pretty good at sieging into places, which can be handy. Going through Citadels of the Age really sucks, and if these are going to be your main army anyways, your main army will be pretty decent at sieging things down. Next up, we do have Elephant Riders still. Elephant Riders do have a place, and against the right targets, they definitely could do some work. What they don't want is to have crossbow fire coming into them. They are going to not enjoy that, as the elephant just racks up afflictions and then dies. The elephant himself has 64 HP and is a trampler, of course. Still an animal and even worse magic resistance than the rest of our guys. And we're not a high morale elephant, so they're going to be rather ready to run at the drop of a hat. But against the right targets, some attack rears, you can get in there and hopefully you'll trample whatever range they have and or leadership they have. And that is kind of useful. Next up, we have 2 sacreds. First one is going to just be the straight Naga. This can be recruited in our capital and in all caves. This is one of the things that really has helped us out because we have the cave layer now. Assuming you can get in there, this is not a particularly good sacred, but it is a cave recruit. And so most caves are going to have between, 3 and whatever amount of provinces. And you only, let me back out of here, you only need to get a temple and you can recruit these. And they are cheap enough that generally speaking, you get three to 6 of them, depending on the spot. You can see in here, I've got a couple different places that are all recruiting those. They're not stellar, but they're going to help you out. And why are they going to help you out? Well, first of all, they have magic resistance 13, and they are not animals. Now, they have their own problems going on, but that's at least takes away one threat vector, or at least part of your army won't get charmed or enraged or whatever else they're doing to you, mind burned. So that's handy right there. The unit itself is, of course, a sacred, is an amphibian, so we can actually get underwater. Can be kind of nice if nobody else is doing it, and even if they are, we're not miserable underneath there. We can fight. We can get mages and stuff down there just fine. We have poison resistance 10. We are magic beings. Now, magic beings are, to my knowledge, never particularly a benefit. That's generally just a penalty. Do note, that means you need to be led around by people who have magic leadership. That is a little bit of a pain point for us. They are cold-blooded. Cold-blooded isn't as bad as it used to be in previous Dom. It used to be absolutely crippling. You could not fight in the cold. Now it's 2 encumbrance per cold scale. If you have 5 cold resist, it's half of that. If you have 10, you're immune to it. So that's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. We have swamp survival, which is nice. And we have spirit sight. Remember that spirit sight makes you able to fight in the dark and have no problems with that. You can see invisible units and you can ignore some of the glamour stuff that people can do to you. So if you can get a foothold down in the cave layer and start producing these, you actually have an okay fighter. They're not stellar, they're not armored, but that's their main weak point. They definitely would like a protection buff. They have a whole slew of abilities. And I will call out here, and this is going to apply to every Naga that has a hypnotize attack. All Naga units have a hypnotize attack, which is rather nice. You can see here, magic resistance negates, weapon is affected by penetration bonus. It's a glamour weapon, so things that can ignore glamour can be ignore that. Mindless, blind units, etc., etc. It's a very high attack and a good length. So essentially, it's magic resistance negate or stun. If somebody is stunned, you can get armor defeating attacks, essentially crits on them, which will help get through heavy protection. That's kind of nice. We have a length 3 bronze spear. Now the length 3 is kind of nice in late age. A lot of people traded down spears into better weapons, but they're shorter. And so you can actually get some repels here. And 15 piercing isn't the worst thing. We can hit things with that. We have a venomous fang attack, so 3 melee things going off here. 10 and 10 is a little unfortunate. 10 piercing damage is unlikely to actually do damage to most units, which means you won't get your strong poison. If you can give these guys some strength buffs, though, this rapidly becomes a nasty, nasty attack. We'll look at a bless that does that, but just keep that in mind. We also have a poison spit. This is a range 10, and that does scale off of strength, I believe. 12 poison damage. We look in here. It's armor piercing. You only have 5 ammunition, though. So this is not one of those innate attacks where you use your fatigue to ammo it, essentially. You get 5 of these, and then you're done. This is actually okay. It's armor piercing. It is a decent amount of poison. It's fine. It's fine. I think that strength does scale these, I want to say. Even though it doesn't say strength scales here. Assuming that it does, that's pretty nice on the range. Generally speaking, these guys will do the thing where they go into melee combat, they kill the melee people, and then they'll spit a time or two and then decide to go back into melee. It's okay. I wouldn't build for it, let's just put it that way, but it's all right. The cap-only sacred is the Naga warrior. Man, if only this was our recruit anywhere. They have the same set of traits as we just looked at. 27 gold, 31 resources, 22 recruitment points. So not cheap, but not expensive either, I would say. 19 HP, some decent strength. They are size 4. So both of our sacreds being size 4 means that we would actually like a large bless. It doesn't lower our attack density, and that will give you map move. Note that the Nagas, look at this, 6 map move. That's horrible. So larger will help them with that a little bit. And even our lighter guys here are only 10. So that's one bless that might be useful for them. These in particular have a falchion instead of the bronze spear. The falchion's a great weapon. They're pretty good with it, 11 attack and 21 slashing damage. And these guys are a little bit stronger, so their venomous fangs are a little bit better. And it does look like that poison spit is scaling off of strength because the last one was 12 damage and this one is 13. So that's actually not terrible. And some extra strength would be good for that. They have a buckler and a bronze hauberk. I mean, having a buckler is better than not having a buckler. I wish it was a kite shield. Boy, that would be nice. I also kind of wish we had like a half helmet or something on, but c'est la vie. The protection here is 5 on the head and 20 on the body. So they can actually be a little tough if you can not get hit in the head. Now, you can't really control that from most things, but it could be a thing. I suppose if you go larger, you're size 5. And I believe that a human with size 1 weapon can only hit your head if you're size 4. If that's correct, then these are actually, I mean, that is actually kind of a nice little bonus there. But do note that ridiculously slow map move, even with larger, is only going to go up to like 9 or 10. You're generally speaking moving 1 province per turn. So not a speedy group to be sure. That being said, though, interesting sacred, can fight underground, especially like the Indies won't be a huge problem for you. An actual underground nation probably going to be pretty difficult, but it's something at least. Heroes, commanders, and prophet. For heroes, we have one. We have the Naga Sida. This is a mage priest who has 2 water, 2 earth, 4 astral. I believe that's just way higher than anything else we get. Nature 1, Glamour 1, Priest 1. They have the Naga traits. This one in particular is pretty old, has ambidextrous, and is unsurroundable. Has a Chris as their weapon. Otherwise, basically normal Naga stuff. You get this one, definitely take care of it because this is going to be able to make you astral boosters and is your highest astral caster. As for commanders, we have a pretty decent little lineup here, starting with the Makata Scout. Notable for being one of the better scouts, they have 60 stealth and they only cost 25 gold. Very, very, very cheap there. As far as scout goes, cheaper better, so that's pretty darn nice. We have the Venarin Captain, has 75 leadership and a falchion. It's a leader. It's okay. No magical leadership, though, so you can't move Nagas around with these. As with the rest of our monkeys, remember, these are still animals and still forest survival. Next, we have the Atavi Chieftain, can also be recruited in forests. This is your stealth leader. Maybe if you found something that those stealth guys can do, he's the guy that's leading them. Otherwise, not particularly great. Yeah, he's cheap. That's about all I can say. The Bandar Commander, he's actually a pretty good leader, 100 leadership, 105 gold, 22 resources, 1 recruitment point, map move of 10, so they're pretty slow. Still going to be an animal. Does have full slots, does have at least a buckler. They're perfectly fine. It's a shame that they don't have any magic leadership, though. That's, again, going to crimp our style, but for leaving your iron shod Bandars around, these guys can definitely do it. Next, we have the Brahmin. This is our priest. He is priest 1 and sacred, of course. He has 10 leadership, 60 gold, 2 resources, 1 recruitment point. So that's a 1 recruitment point priest. That can be kind of handy in certain circumstances. Has reincarnation. Essentially, the getting levels on this unit, when they die, you can come back as units, or you could just become a candle. That can be kind of nice there, but I wouldn't count on it, and it's not good enough to really base a strategy around on. Next, we have the return of the Yogi and the Guru. The Yogi is a Astral 1 mage, has 7 research, is sacred, forest survival, animal, and the reincarnation. Note that these ones have leadership 10, 20 magic leadership, so they can lead things around, but they're going to have a morale penalty, and they can only lead a few around, so that's not stellar. 80 gold for a Astral 1 mage, though, is really nice. That is really good. They're very efficient if slow researchers. They are body ethereal spammers, twist fate. You can give them power of the spheres, or even better, light of the northern star, to bring them up to Astral 2s. Now, as an Astral 2, they could spam something like Mind Burn very nicely. These could also hop into a communion to support each other and do something bigger with Astral. We have the Guru. Guru is the big brother here. 225, 1 resource, 2 recruitment points. Same thing. They have some magic leadership, although they're not good at it. 2 astral, 1 nature natively, 11 research. Same traits otherwise. Do note they have a little supply bonus because of the nature. These guys could lead a communion and get personal regen into your communion, or larger, or enlarge, or whatever the spell is. Could be kind of nice to keep your communion batteries from frying out as quickly. It's be difficult to do it with just the Yogi, so you probably need Guru supporting them, but could do some bigger nature spells. We definitely would like protection buffs is one thing that would be helpful, so possibly they could help you with that. Next, we move into our Naga. These are all going to be cap onlys, and that's a bit of an ouch, because note, these are your 2 mages that you can get outside of your capital. That's not any amount of variety. For the Nagas themselves, we have 3, starting with the Nagaraji. This is cap only, of course. 245 gold, 31 resources, 2 recruitment points, so not slow to recruit. Has a bronze halberd and a buckler, so does have a little bit of gear here. Falchion is what they're armed with. Magically, these are going to be Water 2, Earth 1, Glamour 1, Priest 2. You wouldn't really want these for research. Our ape boys have that covered for us. These can shapeshift. When they shapeshift, they move into kind of sort of the sacred people. They tend to lose a path when they do that. They tend to have less HP, but being shapeshifters is nice because you can have a second form when you're getting shot at or something. So that can be useful. Do note that while it's nice to have some glamour access, we don't have the ability to paint Moss Body like we used to in 5, which is a little bit unfortunate, even with Moss Body not being quite as good. Glamour 1 on this gal does basically nothing. Like, I'm not seeing any spells that I'm like, oh, we could cast that. So that kind of is what it is here. You could do Cold Bolts. You could do Rust and Rust Mist. Note, we do have a little bit of iron in our armies, but not a ton. I think against most things, I would probably just do it. I think it's going to hurt them more than it's going to hurt you. And our Naga troops have no iron on them, so you don't have to worry about that, at least. Our second one is the Nagini. Again, cap only. This is not sold recruit. 310 gold, 2 water, 1 earth, 1 glamour, 1 priest level. This one does have a random, and it's water, earth, astral, nature, glamour. So you could get up to a glamour 2, an earth 2, a water 3. You could get a astral, maybe let you get into a communion. No armor, no gear on this one. These are, I don't know. These are rough. 310 gold for essentially the same mage, but maybe get a random. I don't love it, at least. Finally, for the mages, we have the Nagarishi. This is our best mage, at least our best recruitable mage. Water 3, Earth 2. Earth 2 is very important for summon Earth power and then giving out strength or protection buffs. Astral 1, Glamour 1, and Nature 1. Our randoms are 110% chance, 2 separates for Water, Earth, Astral, Nature, Glamour. That does mean that we could get Astral too, but we are pretty snipeable for Astral people if you don't bring around your yogis. Bring a bunch of yogis in front of you, and then your chances of having these get sniped is a lot lower. In fact, you're probably the person looking to do magic duels. And there's a lot of people in late age who have just that little sprinkle of Astral, like Lemuria, that you could just snipe out all of their mages relatively easy with cheap yogis and one Astral Pearl. So keep that in mind. Here, I do like these. The 3 water means you could do something like Bishop Fish, you could do Quickness, you could do Liquefy, you could do Liquid Body buffs. Lots of good buffs there. Falling Frosts, if you had to. We like heat, and we like heat quite a bit, so we're probably not going cold, but at least you have some option for some AoE there. Beyond that, they are unsurroundable. They can shapeshift. Not much else to say about that. You're going to get a few of these. You may try to communion up to let them do bigger things. Although even if nothing else, at least you have the Earth 2s. Sure would be nice if we still had the Earth. I believe these used to be Earth 3. We lost one for Glamour. Again, sprinkling Glamour just... I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not good enough. Now, if you can... Let's see. Could we even do it here? I mean, in theory, you can have a tiny chance to get to Glamour 3, but if somehow you get Glamour boosters so that you could get somebody who could do Twilight, so then you have the Glamour bonus, that would help a lot. But these are really expensive mages to be doing like Glamour 2 spells, so I don't know. I'm not in love with those. They're all right. Mainly on these, we're going to have like our buffing spells rather than offensive spells, or we're going to be summoning in things. We have a long summons list. Finally, we have the Naga Chief. This can be recruited in all caves. This is our leader for those sacreds. Now, unfortunately, I really wish he was Priest 1. Illwinter, could we get a Priest 1 on the Naga Chief so that they're a lot more interesting and our recruit anywheres are a lot more interesting? He can be blessed himself, but he can't bless. That hurts a lot. You're probably going to get a couple of these because they do have magic leadership, but do note they only have 10 magic leadership. So it's not even like this guy can grab huge swaths of guys to lead around. I think there's definitely something to be said about Arcane Command on this nation to up their magic leadership. And that would help these guys especially be able to ferry guys around and at least get them where they need to be, even if they can't bless them. Who would I make my prophet? You start with a Bandar commander, and he would probably be my first prophet. Beyond that, if he died, maybe I would do a Nagaraja, but I would probably stick to Bandar commanders. He doesn't have anything else to do. He has our heaviest armor and a shield, so that's the route I would generally take. National items and spells. As for national items, we have one national item. We maintain the headdress of the bull. This gives you 2 extra strengths, gives you a retinue of a buffalo, and is head protection 8. I actually like these. I think you could put these on your Naga if you were so inclined, and that would give them some extra strength, which would help them a little bit. The buffalo is kind of nice. Buffalo are one of my favorite summon animals. That being said, if you had nature and earth, maybe a Cathoric lion pelt would be better armor for those unarmored mages because it's a head and a body armor. So something to be said there. Jumping into our magic, we have quite a bit. Half of our national spells are going to be here in Conjuration. These are going to be the same spells we basically had all the way through for the most part. We will look through the spells, then we're going to go look at the summons themselves. Some of these can be done natively, some cannot. The host of Ganas. Ganas are actually pretty decent, but we would need to break into death to get them. The Ingiri are nice. They come in with some fire resistance, and I do think this is good enough that I would consider at least Fire 2 on my Pretender, maybe Fire 3 so you could also get Flame Spirits. Just to summon these in with any fire gems that you happen to get. I like those quite a bit. The Asparas, they're naked, they're not particularly great. You can summon elephants, tigers, or buffalo. Of the 3, I like buffalo. We can kind of sort of get nature 2, so that is something that you could do with your nature gems. Vidyadhara I believe these are the leader ones. They're okay. The Yaksha and the Yakshini are really nice. It's going to be, we have to basically random into the nature 2, but you can do it. And this is where I would spend my nature gems. Both of these are going to be summoning mages, and summoned mages are really, really nice. We'll definitely check those out. At Conj 5, we have the Gandharvas, They're all right. The Vitalis, again, if you had the death, these are pretty good, but we don't have death natively in any fashion. We have summon Kimparushas. Again, this is another great use of nature gems, and you can natively do this. These are I think they're lion heads. They're animal headed fighters. They have like a falchion, a kick, and a bite. They're pretty darn nice. If you didn't want the mages for whatever reason, this is where I would put my nature gems. At 6, we have Marutas, Kinara. At 7, we have the Siddha. At 8, we have the Devata. And at 9, we have the Devala and the Rudra. My apologies for all the pronunciations. All of these are going to be pretty good. It's just a matter of how much astral do you have. Natively, we have a hero that goes up to 4, and realistically, we can rein them into an astral 2. So if we go down until we find an astral 2, the Maruts or the Gandharvas are probably where you're going to have to stop for those. The second half of our summons are all going to be blood. I'm going to go through these very quick because unless you design a pretender to do this, it's going to be rather difficult to do it. Rakshasa, Feast of Flesh, summon Asrapas. Rakshasa Warriors, this is the first one that I would consider a good summon here, and Rakshasa Warriors are really good. I believe you get like 5 of these too. Like, in fact, I don't have to guess. You do get 5 of these for 21 blood slaves. That is not bad at all. Like, a blood 4-ish, even just blood hunting your capital, that's like 2 turns worth of blood hunting, and you could summon those. Those aren't bad. We have the Sandhai Balas, the Dakini, and I should say the Dakini, this is your first blood summon that also can blood hunt. I believe they're blood 3s, so they're pretty good at it. But as you can see, you're basically going to have to make your pretender to do this. Blood 4 is really nice. You can get Enchanted Blood or Blood Surge with that. And then just remember to throw on at least Air 1. And then you could break into that. So if you want to go blood, I feel like this is the bare minimum, because then you blood hunt yourself up to 81. And then these guys can help you blood hunt. And now you're off and rolling. 7, we have the Semen Ishada. At 8, we have the Mandaha, the Danavas, the Daitya. Oof, man, those pronunciations. All good things, but hard for us to do. Let's actually take a look at some of those. Starting us off here with mostly the nature and astral summons. The 2 mages, the Yaksha and the Yakshini. This is a Earth 3, Nature 1, Glamour 1, Priest 1. These guys are great. They can make thugs for you if you did want to get in that. You do have to gear them up, but they have awe and they have nice high nature. So Earth Power, you're now Earth 4. You could do some serious buffing with Earth 4, and we would really like protection on basically everything in our army. We would really appreciate that. In addition, we could buff out, say, lightning resistance. That would be rather handy. The Yakshini, maybe a little less useful because water, we can get water 3s natively. I probably wouldn't summon these unless I had a particular reason, because we can just recruit a Naga that can do this. So of the 2, I think the Yaksha is much better. And I believe those are what, 25 nature gems for one of these? I would definitely pay 25 nature gems for that mage. Now, are you going to get 25 nature gems in late age? That is the question. We don't have that natively at all. Jumping through other things. I mean, Kinara, they're great, right? But it's going to be really hard to get up there. Mostly for another good one that's realistic. Yeah, I don't think those are happening. No. The Gandharva, these are somewhat doable, and they're fine. They do have a decent protection and attacks, but again, how much astral are you going to take on essentially your pretender to do it? The Kimpur Usha, these are the other ones I like. They're Nature 2, Astral 1 to summon in. Great chassis still. They have 15 protection, which is a little on the low side, but great damage output. They'll take buffs really well if you can get them. They would really like that. The Angiri, these are the Fire 2 summons for 5 fire gems. Again, I really like these quite a lot. This is just a good chassis, good HP. They do need a protection buff, but if you get them that, then they're good to go. Moving over to the blood stuff. First one, yeah, the Dakini. This is your blood hunter that you can summon in, and it's a nice unit. I mean, Air 3, now you can do some big air stuff. They also have damage reversal, which is kind of cool. These do like chaos power, so If you go high order, you're probably not going blood. These actually can make kind of interesting thugs too, because they have fear and they can fly. Personal mist form at least. I don't know what else you do with them. Beyond those, I will call out the Rakshasa Warriors. These are pretty nice. I mean, we have a very similar troop, but this is one that can take a bless for you. The Sandhai Balas are also really nice. They have moon blades. Moon blades do extra damage to magical creatures. They also have dark power. So if you're in like a nasty underground war, maybe this could be kind of interesting. Although again, really hard for us to do. The Ghana, these are kind of nice. They are ethereal, so that can be kind of hard for people to deal with. But you would need to get some death magic to be able to summon these in. Buffalo, again, one of my favorite animal summons. They are berserking tramplers, which is nice. And the Mandeha, I like these guys. These guys bring automatic darkness to the battlefield, and they have a sleep aura. These guys are absolute super combatant monsters. However, are you going to get to, what are these, like blood 8, and actually have enough blood slaves to get them, and somebody who has high enough blood to do it? I don't know in this. But if you did, these guys are super duper cool. I'll give them that. That's one of my favorite summons in the game, actually. Winged ape demons that bring darkness and put you to sleep and spread sloth and have chaos power. They're just really cool. But realistically, for Patala to do, probably not. Do note, we've lost our flying plate mail units. They are the eternal enemies of Nagas, so they obviously aren't here. We've also lost our Naga summoning spells because we just recruit them now. So a little bit of an ouch on that. Past those, other magic that you might want. Summon Earth Power, obviously. Summon Gaia Power is also pretty good. In Alteration, Body Ethereal is definitely something that we're going to want. Twist Fate is something that we're going to want. Bark Skin is something that we could buff in the earlier game before we get some Earth people in to do other protection. If you do go thuggy, of course, Temper Flesh could be handy. Blood Poisoning on Nature 2 is something we can kind of sort of do with some regularity. In Evocation, Rust Mist, I want to call that one out. Relatively easy to cast for us. Is a large area of effect, and it just weakens all the iron weapons that are in the range of it. So if you're not worried about your own troops or you're using your bronze troops, that's pretty nice. In Construction, you're looking at Thistle Mace, possibly Astral Boosters, possibly Earth Boots, possibly Water Boosters. We do have Native Water 3, which is what you need for the Robe of the Sea, which is the earlier of the boosters. I believe the bracelet's at Construction 7. Easier to make, but Construction 7 is pretty deep. In Enchantment, we can summon in gelatinous cubes. Those can be kind of nice. We also do get underwater and can fight underwater, so things like Water Shield could be handy there. Friendly Curse is a nice buff. If you're mainly using Nagas in an army, Quagmire, if you have Swamp Survival, you are not affected by this. That's a decent little penalty there for people. Lower combat speed, which will help us because we're very slow combat speed, but extra defense and losing defense and attack and extra encumbrance is pretty hard to fight through if your opponent doesn't have to deal with that. In Thaumaturgy, I think we're mainly going to be looking at getting our communions going. Mind Burn, Soul Slay, all of those would be pretty good for us, and we're going to be looking at making communions to do that. I mentioned it earlier, but I should also call out Light of the Northern Star. We could pretty easily commune up. We could have a guru do Power the Spheres, or more likely we'll just, you'd have to power the spheres because this costs 2. So Power the Spheres, that gets you to Astral 3, and then you need 2 more pearls, and then you can cast Light of the Northern Star. That gives all Astral Mages plus 1 Astral, making our little Yogi quite the nice little budget casters, which is kind of nice. I should also call out, I didn't mention, we can actually forge is that an astral item or a water item? We can make the Moonvine bracelet. Kind of, sort of, it's a little hard to get, but we could get there. This gives you a Vine Man and an extra nature magic. Kind of a rare one that I don't talk about a lot. And what is the clam under these? Here it is. Clam of Pearls. This gives you 2 temporary astral pearls, and it only costs 5 water and 5 nature gems. pretty darn nice, especially being a double gem generator. And you could just give that to a few of your mages and they can cast your buffs or whatever that you need to do really easily with that. So save yourself having to build a communion or lug around other pearls to get your buffs going. Either way, pretty darn nice. I like that one quite a lot. Beyond those ones, I would say that in enchantment, the earth buffs are really nice. Giant strength is good for all of ours. Weapons of sharpness is much appreciated by us. And I didn't mention them here, but the earth protection buffs, really, really good. We would really like to do those. And we can do like marble warriors really easily. We can do iron warriors really easily. Marble army pretty easily. Yeah, that would be an in-game goal for sure. Marble army. And if we summon in a Yakshini, Yaksha, whatever the male guy is, he could do that super easy. Three earth gems and he's good to go on that. So we would definitely enjoy that. Let's bring all that together. Late Age Patala is stuck with early era units. Luckily, Bandar are such absolute units that they can still kind of compete with some of the melee troops and even the heaviest stuff. However, their animal nature is really going to hurt them. Most people are going to be looking at you and they're going to immediately identify your very low magic resistance, and they're going to do all the horrible animal spells to you and magic resist spells against you. Now, we have a little bit of a slide. If you can get some caves and we can get Naga. Naga have good magic resistance and they're not animals. Now, they are magic beings, which have their own set of problems, but at least we have an option there. If we get any gem income whatsoever, for a lot of these, we have a way to spend them. Almost everything we could summon something in, or we could get it. Other than maybe death. Death is kind of like the one, and I guess air if you don't have the astral to summon in air people. But other than that, we could basically spend any gems we want. We would like to have a Glamour 3 somewhere to make Glamour boosters. Other than that, we can kind of do any of them. You have to make a decision on your Pretender, whether you're going to do blood or not. And it might be worth it just having that door open to you. And we would appreciate things like strong-blooded, enchanted blood. Enchanted blood would allow us to get that extra magic save on our sacred, so make our Nagas even more resistant. So that could be a thing. So lots of options there. We do get our full infrastructure, so we do get citadels, so that's pretty nice. And, I mean, this is what I'm getting out of my capital right now. This is a pretty good little recruit. These guys can do some work. They are dirt cheap. They need some resources, but that's okay. We can definitely take scales to do that. I'm getting lots of sacreds out here, including sacred stuff up here, so having a high Dominion score is pretty nice, and especially if you're going to try to do some of the recruit anywheres, just get lots and lots of those out quickly. We do also lack magic leadership, so consider maybe Arcane Command on your Bless just to make collecting those sacreds a little bit easier. Is this going to be the highest tier nation ever? No, it's not. Are they a little better than in 5? I want to say yes. I think the cave layer was a boost to Patala. A pretty significant one if you're lucky enough to be able to get down there. With the way most maps generate, I mean, if I was starting here, I basically would have no ability to get caves, and that would really suck. Pretender and scale design. Remember that we have an order limit of +1 and a heat limit of +1. Going into our chassis, we have a very disappointing amount of chassis here. Very restrictive. I was a little shocked when I saw this again. In the Dom 1, we don't have anything particularly spicy here. The Serpent King is a nice, cheap one. He does have a transform that he can do into a Danger Noodle Snake. Other than that, he doesn't really do anything particular. He is only 90 points compared to the 100 for the Master Enchanter, so if you wanted just nature, he's cheaper. We do have the Great Sage, pretty ubiquitous if you're going to have somebody for Inspiring Researcher. And I do think Inspiring Researcher is pretty good here. You're going to have a lot of Yogi, and so giving every single Yogi a +1 to research is pretty good. Maharishi, yeah, he's only 70 points, but I think I would rather have the Inspiring Researcher if I was going to go that route. You could also do Great Enchantress for some Glamour gems if you thought that could be useful. Moving up to Dom 2, we do have a unique one here. We have the Nagasida. Unfortunately, I just don't care for this. 150 points, and you get Water 1, Earth 1, and basically nothing else. A Naked Pretender. I mean, you could literally just take the Serpent King and then pay 10 points to give him water, and now we're in the same place, and we are still 50 points cheaper. And he's going to have very similar traits, actually, because he can transform into a snake, so I don't know about that one. You do have the Great Sita. This one's interesting in that it can blink and teleport. How useful is that? I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know about that one. I guess this could allow you to get Magic 3 if you were so inclined, so that is something there. We do have the Worm. Worm is an okay underwater expander, but I don't think we actually have problems with that. Our Naga are good enough that we could probably get a foothold in the water without having to do that. We do have Dave the Lion, who's acceptable here. If you don't want to go with a big bless, he could do it for you. He'd be a perfectly acceptable awake expander. As always with him, your bare minimum that you're looking for here is Nature 2, so he can cast Personal Regen and some amount of fire so that you can do Fire Shield. Just depends what else you want him to do. And he's good to go. So he's a classic for going with relatively high scales. Let's see. Take that down. Let's see. What else? We'll go with some extra heat. Okay, there you go. He's awake. He's got 6 Dom. Those scales are acceptable. You can put whatever you want for your little bless here. It's not going to be much. In this case, I probably wouldn't go this route because I think our sacreds are usable, and I think we need our sacreds because those monkeys are not going to take us to victory. Some people swear by the Devi of Strength. It is an interesting super combatant. You do have this Fear Tiger with good attacks of its own, and it does have room for some barding, so that's pretty handy. And then, of course, the rider herself has pretty good combat ability. The problem I always have is 280 points is really expensive. How am I going to take that awake and have some scales and some sort of bless? I don't know, especially because she has Astral, so she's magic duelable. That makes me leery. Moving up to Dom 4, we have the Crystal Soul, weirdly enough. I wouldn't have expected that on this nation. Does also give you that extra magic scale if you're so inclined. Maybe if you're going to go a Dread Bless or an Awe Bless or something, maybe the Crystal Soul does it for you. He does have a sight that does give you a Glamour Gem. We have the Monolith. I like the Monolith quite a bit on this nation, actually. And the Blood Fountain. I actually think the Blood Fountain pretty good. Also the Devi of Darkness, if I back up one. I think the Devi of Darkness is usable. You probably take Hard Skin and then at least 4 blood. And that would get you a Blood Searcher who can also kind of expand. Could be usable. Could be usable. The Meme Elephant here, I've never really made that work. And the Blood Fountain. I was going to say the Blood Fountain can also, it's a really good Blood Searcher. So you could use this to break into blood. I would probably take that as dormant or maybe even imprisoned, with the idea that it's going to come out and I'll have had time to research some blood magic high enough that I can get other blood hunters. And then this thing just blood hunts until I can get them. And then they can take over doing that portion of things. So overall, not my favorite set of pretenders here, and a little sad on that. Let's take a look at a couple that I made for us. First up is Bearded Snake. This is a great sage. He has Larger and Fate Weaving. Larger is just really good on this nation. All of our leaders that are sacred don't mind having some extra bulk to them, some extra HP. If you're going to try to thug any of them, that's really nice for them there. It also gives them some extra map move, which can be helpful. Fate Weaving is also another nice one. Fate Weaving is really interesting. So when you have Fate Weaving, anyone that strikes them has their fate rewritten. That gives them essentially a minus D6 to their protection rolls. So that can be kind of nice for hitting them with hypnotizes. That can be nice for hitting them with the poison spit. That can be nice for just finish them off while they're paralyzed. That could be very, very powerful. That being said, that's really expensive, and it does mean that we have to take some misfortune. So your mileage may vary on that. Beyond that, he's obviously here to do research. He can give himself a Thistle Mace, and he can do Mother Oak. Mother Oak gives us tons of nature gems, which then we can use for troops or mages, which is really nice. I like that. Also can craft us the Glamour boosters. Also can craft us the Astral boosters and the Earth boosters. So a bit of a utility pick here. He can go into battle later on and do the like Master and Slaves or things like that for you. Will of the Fates, things like that could be kind of handy. Overall, I think he's fine, but a little boring. Second, I have a Monolith here, my Bane. This is Lucky Pebble. Lucky Pebble is imprisoned. Another thing I don't do too much of, but in this case, I like this one quite a lot. He is going to, again, bring in Larger. Again, I really like Larger for previously stated reasons. Also, Unbreakable. Unbreakable is nice because our Naga are going to tend to start picking up afflictions pretty badly. They'll survive a lot of fights, but then they'll die via a lot of afflictions. This gives you resist afflictions 3, I believe, which is pretty substantial. And between having the extra HP from larger and that's very helpful. Utility, I did pick up Arcane Command here. Increases magical leadership by 25. That makes our little Naga commanders able to move around, I think 35 guys, which is significantly better than what they had. And just lets you easily get leaders to move Nagas around. Quite nice. And then Enchanted Blood gives us the slow ticks of regen and extra magic resistance. The magic resistance isn't super needed, but people are probably going to be throwing magic at you anyways because they're trying to hit your apes. So this will just keep your sacred safe from anything that's flying around. And then Blood Surge. Blood Surge is really nice here. Between Larger and Blood Surge, that's a lot of extra strength. You get 3 strength from Larger, and you can get 3 more from Blood Surge. That extra 6 strength turns their venomous bites from kind of a joke into a big threat. I believe that takes you to, I want to say it's 17 damage on the bite. 17 damage is probably going to hit and actually deal a point of damage, which means then you get your strong poison for an additional 15. That makes that bite much, much better. And your main cap only sacreds have a falchion, so you're likely to kill something and get the Blood Surge rolling. And then that's just going to help your poison spit. That's going to help your venomous bite. Quite a nice little cascade that you can get there. And that Blood Surge and Larger are just so many stats that are relatively cheap. And like you can see here, everything here is non-incarnate. So we get this from turn 1. We don't have to worry about it. These scales are all right. They're nothing to write home about. I didn't want to go to Magic 3 or Magic 2 because that would give me an additional minus magic resist in my own Dominion. And we already have enough problems with that. So instead, I went with a little bit of production, and I quite like that. That lets us get lots and lots of those Bandar out that have the Iron Shod, and that's going to be our main fighters for a good portion of the game. Also, make sure that our capital can get all of our sacreds out with like maybe 1 expand in the early game, which can really help. If you get a bad cap circle, if you could just get that first province going, you're generally going to be okay there. In addition, I did bring in some air here and some blood, so we do have the ability very late game to break into the blood stuff if we needed to. And he's good to go on a whole bunch of rituals, obviously, and he can teleport around or gate around if he needs to. So a bit of a utility pick here, but a good one. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. I normally don't do imprison things for stream, but I quite enjoyed this build. So if you have any suggestions on builds that you've enjoyed, I'm always interested in those. In conclusion, Late Age Patala is a fitting end, I would say, to our Bandar ape friends. We have the final iteration of both their kind of celestial troops and their blood troops coming together. The Nagas are interesting. I wish we had Nagas in earlier eras in like as an actual nation. I think they are an interesting chassis. They have upsides and downsides for sure. And it's unfortunate that them and their bronze technology are coming into late age. As an early era, like if this was an early era sacred, this does some stuff for me. As a late age sacred, they're all right. They're fun, more than powerful, I would say. And ditto here. Our naked dudes from early era are probably better in their era than these are in their era. So just some contextual things that have happened to this nation. And other than that, the strong research is nice. You got to figure out what you're going to do with it. It's fun to buff. I do like that. I do like astral magic. So has a lot of the things that tick boxes for me. Lots of summons and a decent chunk that we can do natively is just another thing that I quite like. All right, if you enjoyed this one, don't forget to leave a like on the video. That helps me out a ton. If you're not subscribed, I hope I've earned your subscription today with our Bandar log and their Patalan overlords. If you want to go above and beyond, you can always leave a super thanks, join me live for a super chat, check out the Patreon, or join a member here on YouTube. All right, guys, get out there and hypnotize somebody, and I'll see you on stream. Babble out.